You want to launch a Kickstarter, and maybe this goes without saying, but you actually want to fund, right? Everybody's telling you to build an audience and generate leads. We do that too. But what if you don't know how to do that? Or what do you do once you're live? What if you want some more hand-holding than just this general advice that you find on the internet? That's where Launchboom comes in. And that's why I brought on Will Ford, the president and co-founder of Launchboom, a company that specializes in helping crowdfunding creators succeed through their Accelerator program. Now we're going to cut to the interview in just a minute, but real quick, my name is Brandon. This video is brought to you by Fulfillrite. We ship orders for e-commerce and crowdfunding campaigns. Link below for more details. The quotes are free. Now one last quick note, we edited with a light touch on this interview because we wanted to keep it simple, a little lo-fi, and honest, just like two professionals on a Zoom call. All right, let's cut to the interview. So first of all, Will, thank you very much for taking the time today to come onto our channel. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped to be here, and it's been so much fun working with you, over the last year. And when you told me about this, I was excited to be a part of it. So I appreciate you for having me on today. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're just getting started out with these kind of interviews, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think this is so cool that you're providing all of this information for your audience. There's just so many experts in our industry.
Absolutely. So I'll just jump right into it. So of course I know what Launchboom does. Launchboom is a partner of Fulfillrite. I feel like that's a necessary disclosure that I should probably just get out there. But for the general viewing audience, can you explain what Launchboom does and how it's changed over time?
Yeah. So I founded Launchboom back in 2015. And the reason I started Launchboom was because I've always been very involved launching consumer products. And before I learned about Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I was doing it the traditional way when it comes to launching new consumer products. So what that looked like was I'd come up with a really cool product idea. I would have to place a significant investment of my own into that product idea to figure out manufacturing. Usually with most manufacturers, you'd have to pay for, half the order up front, and then the other half of the order would have to, get paid, once they are ready to deliver the product. And I've been there before too. And it's a scary place to be in. It's not fun. It's also kind of risky when you put a lot of your own money into a product before you've even validated that there's demand or people that want to buy the product. And that's what really turned me on initially to Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I couldn't believe that I could take a prototype and I could pre-sell that prototype to millions of people all over the world. And I can take their money up front before I have to make the product and deliver the product to the end user. In the early years, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they're fairly new platforms. I mean, they both opened their doors around 2009. So, I couldn't believe having gone into those platforms back in 2010, 2011, and just seeing all these new product ideas raising millions of dollars in pre-sales. And, being an entrepreneur, Brendan, I was like, wait a minute, if I could pre-sell $1 million worth of product, I could place a much larger volume order with my manufacturer and get even better price breaks, right? And get even better margins. And it was just a much safer way to validate demand and launch new consumer products. So when I sold my last company, which was called Petbox, I had an advisor on my board. And he asked me as soon as we exited that deal, hey, Will, I'm a real estate guy. How about I just give you the capital you need? And why don't you just run this for me? So I basically took it into a Kickstarter campaign. But what I did was I really spent about 3 months before the Kickstarter building my own community. And so from there, we were able to raise, huge amounts of money very, very quickly. So that's kind of when the light bulb went off for me, Brandon, because I was actually looking for more support with doing that pre-launch work. And I did a ton of research, and there was no one in the world supporting entrepreneurs when it came to Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So I just reached out to my personal network in the early year of starting the business, and I was able to sign 15 clients. And it was more of a white glove service, so I'd do everything for them. It was amazing. So 2016, I go from launching 15 products in 2015 to 2016. Now I've launched close to 100 products. That's how many new clients were coming in. And our agency was growing fast. But in the early years, to be honest, as an agency, we were just building an email list, right? And the only issue with just building an email list is that you're going to get a low conversion rate, right? So when you have an email list and you email market back to that audience, we were getting on average like 3% conversions, right? So we'd have to build a massive audience in order to hit those like 6 or 7 figure outcomes. And so at the time, what I was doing was I wanted to create a more efficient process. I wanted to make it easier for my clients to have even bigger, better campaign outcomes. And so we ended up creating something called the reservation funnel.
And this is one of your like big key unique things that Launchboom does. It's a very specific Launchboom thing.
Yeah. So the reservation funnel honestly was like the biggest game changer for us and the world in crowdfunding, because what we ended up doing was we took that email one step further. And the idea was, okay, great. Now that we got the email interest and they submitted their email because they want us to notify them when we launch, the idea was, well, what if we turn that into an actual reservation to create a more qualified audience? So the idea was, it was honestly, I took it from Elon Musk when he launched a Cybertruck and he did those like $1,000 deposit reservations. And he ended up creating like huge amounts of revenue for Tesla on that one reservation funnel idea. I was like, hey, I wonder if this would work for crowdfunding. And sure enough, it did. And so the way it works is once we run a Facebook ad or Instagram ad and someone interested in the product clicks on the ad, what we do is we then pull them into an opportunity to give us $1 reservation. And what we do is we create a call to action. We say, hey, we're launching soon on Kickstarter. The first 1,000 backers are going to get a lower price in early delivery. So if you want the best deal before we go to Kickstarter, all you have to do today is place a $1 money back guarantee deposit, and we're going to guarantee you that you get the very best deal today before we go live. And so what was interesting was we didn't really care about the dollar. It was more the transaction, because people don't transact unless they're serious about committing to a deal. So what ended up happening, as soon as we turned on this reservation system, we started getting massive conversions. So like I said earlier, when I had that original email list going into a Kickstarter, I'd get a 3% conversion, right? When I took it through the reservation funnel, if I had $1,000 reservations before a campaign, we were getting 30% or greater conversions.
So you're like really measuring for purchase intent when you do that. And that's one of the things that really helps you, because you're like, you can just take that and, make a lookalike audience out of it or do something else that like really measures for that kind of thing.
Exactly right. And I've been at it now for 9 years, Brandon. That's how long I've been working on Launchboom. And we've honestly built the most effective product launch system in the world. And what's really interesting about what we've created is also the lowest cost solution, right? Because I want to be able to help every entrepreneur. I don't want to just be able to help the funded ones. So when in my early years at Launchboom, I was really focused on building the world's largest agency. The only issue with that model was it only worked for funded startups. Like I said earlier, like I needed a minimum 50 grand investment in that product launch for me to do everything for the client and to be able to deliver a significant outcome of 6 or 7 figures of pre-sales, right? So the problem with that model was I could only work with funded startups. And my agency grew super fast. So from 2015 up until about 2021, we had launched over 1,000 successful product launches on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo, right? So we were the world's largest crowdfunding agency. We rang that bell, back in like 2018 is when we got there. And then the pandemic hit and we went through hyper growth and we exploded. I went from like 20 full-time employees pre-pandemic to close to 100 employees by the end of 2021. It was massive growth. And it was an exciting time, and we were doing incredibly well as an agency. Our clients were thriving. That's really where we built our brand reputation as the leader in our space. And then in 2022, everything changed. And what I mean by that was I had this massive team that was ready to keep scaling the business. But what happened in 2022 was we stopped seeing qualified lead gen come through our lead gen efforts. And we stopped seeing like these like funded deals. And what we realized were that creators needed a cheaper option. They wanted a more affordable solution. And so that's when, as the lead gen started to decline in 2022, that's when we saw a much greater opportunity to turn Launchboom into something so much greater than it ever could have been as an agency. And that's when we decided to intentionally kill our agency and convert it into a crowdfunding community and platform where now we provide coaching, consulting, and we upgraded all of our software and technology. So the idea was, how can we make it easier, more fun for anyone in the world out there with a really cool idea to actually validate demand, lower their risk, and be able to successfully launch that product?
And it acts like an educational thing. Somebody gets involved in the program and they can learn like what they need to do to actually make sure they're ready for the campaign.
And more than that, they can basically avoid all the headaches that we went through over the previous, 7, 8 years as an agency. We learned what doesn't work, what does work. We learned, at what point to put cash into advertising or when to scale advertising. There's so many things we learned along the way. And so what we decided to do in 2022 was we intentionally killed our agency. Brandon, it was crazy, man.
Yeah, that's going to be a scary decision to make.
It was probably the scariest pivot I've ever made professionally, because we already had the most successful agency at the time. And the idea was like, hey, what if we kill that and we create our own platform and we build crowdfunding tools that make it easier? We make it way more affordable. So now anyone out there can use a credit card if they're bootstrapping, and they can go through our proven system, but we can make it way more affordable for them to take that product idea into Kickstarter, into Indiegogo, and still have the same, if not better, outcome that our agency was delivering. And so we spent a lot of the year of 2022 building that out. And we had to shift some people around on our team into different seats to help support this new idea and model. But it was a huge game changer, because now we can work with anyone out there that has a really cool product idea and maybe underfunded, or maybe they're bootstrapping and they're using their credit card to support these product ideas and these innovative products that they want to take to market. Or maybe it's someone who's never done it before and they want to take that first idea from that napkin sketch and they want to turn it into a prototype and actually launch it and turn it into a successful e-commerce business, for example, which many of my clients do. And so we ended up creating what I call Launchboom 2.0. The world knows it today as Launchboom Accelerator. And since we made that pivot, Brandon, we're onboarding more clients than I ever dreamed of. We're literally adding like 100 plus new product creators every single month into our community. And the reason they're coming in is because it is the most engaged, active community of creators. They're all supporting each other. They also have access to everyone on my team, myself included. So we have dedicated coaching calls every day. So depending upon what part of the process they're in, they can jump on a call with one of our experts. They can get their questions answered. So they get that hand-holding. But now they can do more on their own because we've upgraded our technology. So that reservation funnel system I talked to you through a little earlier in this conversation, our clients can now actually build their own reservation funnels. They can just like drag and drop imagery, messaging, little teaser videos. They can collect their own reservations. They can also price test. They can test different lead offers now. So the number one, I'd say, pain point most of my clients have when they come to us and they want to launch a new product is they all have the same question. Hey, Will, how much should I sell my product for? How much do you think I can get for this product? And I always answer the same way. I have no idea. Let's figure that out. Let's use our system and let's go test different lead offers to figure out what the market will support. So we are now able to do all of that during pre-launch. So in addition to, building a huge audience of those dollar reservations, we're also able, before we scale that, we're able to test different lead offers. And so the other huge advantage we have today, Brandon, is I have over 7 million backers in my database, because I've retained a copy of every backer from every campaign I've ever launched from the beginning. So what's really cool is part of our platform allows our clients to access specific audiences that they think are their actual demographic of buyer. And what we can do is we can upload those audiences into their Facebook or Instagram accounts and do what's called lookalike audience targeting. So now we can actually place their lead offers or their ads in the organic feeds of backers that have already had one or more successful experiences on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, so they're more likely to do it again. So this allows us to get a much, much bigger impact from that ad spend because we actually have data that they can leverage to bring down that ad cost. So what's really cool and unique about our system is what we're really doing, in essence, Brendan, is we're helping all of our clients fail fast and fail cheap.
Yeah. And I think that's huge because let me think about this, like, just kind of recap, like the basic process. You've got at the very top, you've got like lead offer testing, but or I don't know if that's the right word, but like let's just say offer testing, like you're actually testing the pitch and the price. And then you get into the more granular stuff, which is like ad copy, imagery, and that kind of stuff. And like as you go down, it's like, is this the right offer? Are we making the right basic pitch? And then after that, I assume, and I haven't like worked with you guys in this capacity yet, but it's got to be in there. You guys will help them put together that page, make sure that nothing on there loses the conversions. And then you just kind of go through this process. And then once you get to that point, and somebody's got enough leads, they're selling the right thing, they've got enough leads, the campaign page looks good, then it is, here's how you run it, here's how you ship it, and here's how you go to ecom. And it gets like progressively easier because it's like, I feel like the what is so much harder than the how. Like you can find anything in the world on the how, but the what is a really hard thing. And helping people figure out what is like probably one of the most valuable things that people don't really think about too much.
Yeah, no, I'd say today what's really interesting about my business at Launchboom is we have thousands of active clients right now that are either preparing to launch, they're live on Kickstarter, so they're actively funding their projects right now or pre-selling their products. And then we also have a group of clients that have finished crowdfunding that we're helping transition into e-commerce, right? And we're helping work through their manufacturing. So we also provide another program called SourceBoom. And the idea is like, once we get through crowdfunding, well, let's help our clients source the best, sourcing experts, manufacturing experts, and deliver the best possible experience to those backers. So now we truly set them up for success because now they will have great products landed and ready for e-commerce or Amazon or retail. But we also start with like market research. So we look at, okay, who are your competitors in this landscape? What makes your product unique, superior, different to those competitors? And then we look at what are the price points of those competitors? What's a realistic price that we can put on your product to help you maximize that average order value? And that's also how we help protect our client margins through this process. Now that we've done that messaging positioning work, now let's go test. Let's go see if people will pay this much money for this product. So what we do is we create different reservation funnels. We create different lead offers. And then we basically point those advertisements on Facebook, on Instagram, and we look at the data. We look at what's converting. We look at what's the cost to acquire that $1 reservation, right? So what's really, really cool about what we've done is we've created a data-driven process that literally will tell our clients before we get to Kickstarter how much money they're going to be able to raise, whether or not they're going to have a big enough campaign to support the manufacturing requirement they need. So we're not guessing anymore. And so I'd say that is probably the number one differentiator with Launchboom and anyone else in the world right now, is that if you're out there and you're interested in launching a physical, tangible consumer product, if you come into Launchboom, we can tell you within a matter of months whether or not you should put more time and resources into it. Because we can find for a much lower budget, I'm talking like under 10 grand, we can find whether or not it's worth putting more time, more resources into going big on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Because in some cases, we might take a client through pre-launch and the data isn't positive, right? Or we can't get people to, put $1 reservation down because, for whatever reason, there's an issue with the product or the value prop isn't there, or there could be a variety of reasons. What's really cool is that we can actually run surveys to the people that did show interest, and we can ask them what they liked, what they didn't like. And so it gives our clients an opportunity to potentially iterate and improve that product. And then we'll test it again.
This is also key because I feel like people really sleep on the possibility of just starting work on a project and then doing the research and then quitting because it doesn't actually make sense from a market perspective. There's no shame in that. It's like I've got a lot of board game, general contacts that are out there, and it is a running joke in every game designer's life that they've got like 20 games that are sitting on a shelf somewhere, and one of them makes it to market, because it's like you table that, and some of them you just like you play them a few times and it's just not worth continuing. And if you're able to do that on like a market level, figure out if anybody's actually going to buy the darn thing in the first place, you can potentially save somebody tens of thousands of dollars, probably more than the accelerator costs, let's be honest. What's it cost, by the way, to get in there? Like, is it a month-to-month kind of thing?
Yeah. So right now, just to be direct, like Brandon, it's a one-time cost, $9,800 to take your product into my system. That gives you access to my team members here at Launchboom. It gives you access to all the perks for being in the community. So you'll get access to like our partnerships, like Fulfillrite, right? So we can help you not only like have a successful crowdfunding campaign, but also what happens after crowdfunding. We can help actually set you up so you can actually start scaling and growing and building a profitable business. We have e-commerce partners. We have Amazon partners. So the beauty of our system is it's a one-time cost. If someone out there, if $9,800 is like a scary number, we have payment plans now. So people can use credit cards and make like monthly, quarterly payments if that helps them, take their idea to market and do it within their financial means. So we literally have like the lowest cost, but by far the best solution in our industry right now. And that's why we're having so much success, because it's a system that basically controls the outcome for every single product that we turn on. So literally, we only go live on Kickstarter or Indiegogo when we control the outcome, when we know we can raise enough money to actually build, manufacture, and deliver an awesome experience to that backer. And that's the hardest part, because at that point, now that you validated demand, now that you have happy customers, well, now you also have product. So now you can turn on your e-commerce store. Now you can turn on your Amazon channel. Or now you can start shopping those retail connections to get your products into Walmart or Target or wherever you want to sell.
And it's like, it's honestly on Amazon, if you've got the right product and then even in a somewhat decent looking page with all the A+ content and whatnot, it can be like $7 to get a purchase. It's not that hard to get big purchases on Amazon, especially not if you've already gone through a Facebook ad driven process, a Kickstarter driven process. It's like by the time you get through that, you're probably kind of a lock for Amazon success as well.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the day, like when it comes to Launchboom, the reason I still love what I'm doing here is because we truly have built the most effective product launch system that I know of. And we continue to iterate, we continue to improve it. The idea and goal for Launchboom is we want to make it fun, we want to make it easy, and we want to make it as affordable as possible. So anyone in any part of the world that has this idea burning in their mind, that they're dreaming about, that they're thinking about, that they want to launch, that they can actually launch it now, even if they're underfunded, right? And they can actually take that idea, turn it into a real profitable business. And if we do this and continue doing this well, Brandon, my goal is I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing until I've helped over 1 million entrepreneurs take their product ideas and turn them into profitable businesses. Once I've done that, I've truly made a positive impact on the world. And that's what we're doing here at Launchboom. And that's what makes it fun. It's just seeing like all these campaigns do so well. So what's cool about that pivot I told you about earlier, when we killed the agency and we pivoted over to this coaching consulting platform, we're launching more products than we ever dreamed of launching. So on average, we're launching like 8 to 10 products every single week, all year long. And they're all doing phenomenal. Like they're all doing super well.
And the beautiful thing is like you're not trading your time for money anymore, or paying someone else to do that. And at the same time, you're able to give people something that is quite a bit less expensive. Like I know, and I'll be honest with you, if you're like really scrappy starting up and you do this with like shoestring budget, the little bit of savings from a job, 9,800 is a terrifying figure. Like I launched my first campaign when I was driving a $1,500 car for comparison. But like honestly, when you compare that to agency fees, like a good marketing agency, a mid-range price is probably 100, 110, 120 an hour. I mean, like we're talking mid-range, like probably low mid-range at this point. And that stuff adds up so unbelievably fast, especially when you're talking market research, product validation. This isn't even getting into advertising expenses. 9,800 is actually like quite a bit lower than that, and it mitigates quite a bit of risk.
I mean, Brandon, what's even cooler about kind of where we are today at Launchboom is, like, I'd say another one of like the top number one pain points are funding. A lot of my clients are like, "Hey, Will, can you invest in my company? Will, can you help me fund my advertising budget so I can go bigger on this campaign?" And what's really cool is I've also recently found a funding partner that will literally provide my clients with anywhere from like 100 to 200,000 in interest-free credit lines to support these launches, which is honestly more than enough capital to not only like maximize your campaign, but then to get the money out of the platform to easily repay that credit line before any interest is ever due. So, I mean, literally, like over the years, because I've worked with thousands and thousands of product creators, they all ask the same questions, right, at different parts of the process. So, all I've done over like the last decade is I've found the best solutions to those questions. And I've literally created a platform that makes it easier, way less risky, and honestly, more fun. Because when you're an entrepreneur, going at it alone, it's lonely, you know? And now you don't have to. If you come to Launchboom, you have a whole community of like-minded people that are doing the same thing, that want to help everyone succeed. And so it's way more fun when you have a community of other people that are energized and excited about the products they're launching, and they want to share their resources, and they want to make sure like everyone in the community is thriving, which is really what's happening right now at Launchboom. So again, whoever's listening to this, if you have a product idea, you don't have to do it alone. You're not by yourself. There's a whole group of people worldwide here at Launchboom that want to help you, that want to see you succeed. And again, you don't have to go at it alone anymore.
Absolutely. Now, follow-up question on the financing. Like, of course, getting low interest financing, a lot of folks, they want to see bank documents, they want to see or inventory or something like that. We actually just had an inventory financing guy on. I think that one's going to be up by the time this is up on YouTube. But so with this, it's like, do they look at the advertising? Do they look at the results and kind of make a determination based on what they think the expected revenues are going to be?
No, honestly, it's really interesting. But the credit facility that we're working with, for the most part, like if you're a U.S. registered business, so if you have a U.S. business entity, whether it's an LLC, a C corp, an S corp, it really doesn't matter as long as it has a EIN number and it's a registered U.S. business. They can lend you money.
That is good to know.
Like we don't even have to show them ad metrics or any data. Like that's literally all they need to see. Now, obviously, depending upon how long that business has been around, how long, will determine how much money they can lend you. Right. So like if you just opened it, you reach out to them a month later, they might not be able to give you 200 grand. They might only be able to give you 30 or 50 grand, but they can still provide that credit line to make.
And that can still be really useful. Like if you've got the metrics that are backing you up, at least like internally, if you look at this and you have a very good reason to think you'll succeed, but you're just like $15,000 short or something, could be a good option.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's amazing like what resources are available to entrepreneurs today. And I'd say that's probably one of the things that I've really focused on the last year is providing those resources to my community in my Launchboom platform. And so everyone in my community has access to all these resources that I've continued to find. I continue to add them if I think they're going to add value to my client. And it doesn't have to be scary anymore. It's actually the opposite. It's actually a ton of fun. And it can be extremely lucrative if you've got a cool product idea.
So kind of on an unrelated note, what do you see, where do you see Launchboom going in the next 5 years? You have any other initiatives in the pipeline that you're ready to share?
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, like I love what I do here at Launchboom, and so does the rest of my team members. Like everyone is genuinely passionate about supporting these entrepreneurs and succeeding with their product launches. And so honestly, the next 5 years, like I just want to continue to create the lowest cost solution to make it as fun as possible and to help as many entrepreneurs as possible. And to answer your question directly, 5 years from now, I'd like to be as close to that $1 million number as possible. Like I'd love to eventually help 1 million entrepreneurs, product creators have successful launches. If you know, and if it takes me 10 or 20 years to get there, so be it. But I'm not going to stop until we get there.
That's awesome. I think that's a good goal.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, like Brandon, there's just been so many like success stories over the years. Um, like um, like I know before we had this, this call together today. I know, you were like, hey, Will, it'd be really cool if you could share like a cool success story. What's one of the coolest campaigns you've ever worked on, right? And I want to take a minute and talk about that because there's so many, and a lot of people they always think I'm going to like talk about like my multi-million dollar campaigns, and honestly, a lot of those aren't my best campaigns, believe it or not, because a lot of those big multi-million dollar campaigns they spent a tremendous amount on advertising to get there. To be honest, um, but I'd say like probably like one of the coolest stories is this group of entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. They reached out to me and they had this really, really cool product. It's called Spring. And what it is, it's basically like these like wraps you put around your calves, and it actually massages your calves, which your calves have one of your major arteries in your body. And so they found that if you wear these leg wraps on like long travel or airplane trips, that it totally eliminates like being jet lagged. It's a phenomenal product. It's called Spring, Spryng, and we ended up launching it on Indiegogo. But before we launched on Indiegogo, Brandon, I took them through my pre-launch reservation system, and we couldn't get any decent conversions. So at the time, they're like, "Hey, Will, our cost to produce this thing is $30. So eventually, we want to sell for 150, but we're willing to give a deal on Kickstarter at $99 to maximize orders." And I thought that was an incredible deal, right? But today, Brandon, consumers are super sharp, right? So when they saw this really cool looking product with all these like massage features, that they thought it was like, well, what I concluded was that they thought that it was a gimmick or it was a ripoff because it was like almost too good to be true. Like, how can I get this awesome massage device for both my calves for $99? It must be there's got to be something wrong here. And so there's a huge gap here. I go, I know your cost is $30, but would you allow me to sell this for $189? And then you can go to retail at like $250 or $300 because it's a great product and you're undervaluing your price, in my opinion. So they said, hey, well, at this point, we just want this to work. So whatever you think we need to do, go ahead and test it. So I tested a lead offer at $189, and all of a sudden, our reservations were like the lowest cost reservations we've ever seen come through. We ended up getting thousands of these dollar reservations. And then when we took it to Indiegogo, we ended up pre-selling over $1 million of the product. And now, mind you, their cost didn't change. Their cost is still $30 to produce that unit. But now I just basically like tripled their profit margins, right? Because now I'm selling for 189 versus 99, right? So as you can imagine, their team in Sri Lanka, they love me, right? Because not only did I help them pre-sell $1 million, over $1 million on Indiegogo, but I made them a huge profit margin on that launch. And they were able to reinvest that back into their e-commerce. And now they've got a super successful business. So like that's the value of the pre-launch, is figuring out how to maximize your average order value, how to get people to actually pull the trigger and transact with you before you get to Kickstarter. So that's always a story I love sharing, just because it, again, goes back to like really what we're doing at the end of the day, which is we're mitigating the risk for all of our clients and we're helping them position their products and maximize the price of every unit they move through the system.
Yeah. I think that's a really good example of just the kind of things you can do, because like that's one of those things that you only really figure out that you need to change pricing strategy just through testing it out and seeing what happens. And it's amazing that just occasionally happens, where people actually perceive something as being a much better product when it has the higher price tag.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's so many other stories like that, but I know you wanted me to talk about kind of a success story. And that always is like top of mind
Oh,
because,
absolutely. And I'm glad you
because,
brought it up.
because they were ready to like throw the rag in and call it quits on it. And I convinced them to let me continue testing. And because we repositioned the pricing, we ended up having a major breakthrough.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story. So, real last question. If there is one thing that you think potential Kickstarter creators need to focus on, just one piece of advice to give them, what would it be?
Yeah. So honestly, and I know this might sound a little cliche, but if anyone out there is considering launching a new product on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you're going to save a lot of time and a lot of money if you reach out to my team. And you don't even have to hire my team. Like we have experts that will talk to you. We'll tell you the ins and outs of crowdfunding. Maybe crowdfunding isn't the right direction for you. And if that's the case, we'll tell you why and we'll point you in the right direction. But you can save a lot of time and a lot of headache and a lot of money if you talk to someone on my team. And again, you don't have to pay any money to do that.
All right. And anybody who's interested in learning more about Launchboom, I'm going to include all the links down below in the description so you can easily find them. And from there, you'll be able to just learn anything that you want to know about Launchboom.
Yeah, yeah. And again, we love learning about new product ideas. We love helping entrepreneurs. So if you're out there and you've got an awesome product idea and you've been thinking about crowdfunding, like we'd love to talk to you.
Thank you for watching this interview. I appreciate it, and I know that Will at Launchboom does too. Details on both of our companies are going to be down there in the description. And just in case you missed the name earlier, my name is Brandon. I'm here on behalf of Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping your orders, go to fulfillrite.com and request a quote. We've shipped for thousands of crowdfunding campaigns, and we would be happy to ship for you as well. The quote doesn't cost a thing, so if nothing else, you get some good information about pricing. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Don't forget to slap some postage on that bell so we can express ship new videos to you as soon as they drop. And last but not least, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I will personally answer as many of them as I can. Thanks for watching.